This is Alexx Antaeus, fresh off the 2025 Grammys, which we had a good time, and you watching World Music Views. My brother, how are you? Good.
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great.
How has it been since you won the Grammy Awards? It's been a year plus.
It's been a wonderful year. Winning a Grammy has been, other than the personal satisfaction, of course, it has opened so many doors. It's incredible. People that wouldn't return my calls before, people that wouldn't return my emails before, now they're calling me. Now they are messaging me. So yes, it's been great. It's also been somewhat of a headache because everybody wants to work with me, but nobody wants to pay. You know the game. Everybody wants to be part of success.
The music business.
First of all, let me say something very important. I haven't spoken to you in a minute, and I want to thank you. Let me tell you why I want to thank you and World Music Views. You're keeping it real, and you're educating people both in Jamaica and the Caribbean and around the world about the music industry, and you're separating facts from rumors. And that is commendable, because you are educating people that want to believe stories that are not real, and you're telling them how it is. Because I know for a fact, because I have spoken with people within the Recording Academy, that you do speak to people in the Recording Academy. You do ensure that everything you put on your social media or your website is correct. And for that, I thank you and I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, my bro. You've also helped to keep that in line, because whenever I'm in doubt about something, I can link you up and be like, yo, does this make sense? And I'll get the years of experience from you. So I really appreciate it. World Music Views appreciate the expertise and the knowledge that you come with, because people like you that make World Music Views go on, because it's interconnected, you know. But I'm interested in a couple of things, and I want to talk about the Grammys, the past Grammys 2025, and your category first of all. Why did you submit for a category that you knew you were gonna go up against giants?
Well, since you and I have been talking for the last few years, I told you I have a long-term plan for Jamaica and for the Caribbean, and now for Africa. Obviously, reggae music, dancehall music, soca music is already huge. They don't need me. I mean, we'll have Bob that still represents. But I want to teach the people out there who are not necessarily reggae fans or dancehall fans or Afrobeat fans that music that comes from the Caribbean and Africa is just as good and better than your typical EDM and dance and house music. So I said, how do I do that? I said, okay, let me take a Jamaican artist, Julian Marley, since we already had the success with the Grammy back in 2024. Let me take a genre of music from Africa, specifically Amapiano, which is South African. Let me put them together and let me go and compete with the big boys. When I started that, people said, Alex, why are you wasting your time? You're not even going to get nominated, because for people who had seen the list of who was submitting for Best Remixed Recording, which is part of pop and dance music, you had David Guetta, you had Mark Ronson, who ended up winning. There was even a remix of Tiesto remixing U2. One of the biggest rock bands in the world, remixed by one of the biggest DJs producers in the world. So obviously, little us, from Kingston, Jamaica, we were a tiny little David against Goliaths. And I said, I'm going to make this happen. So we got the nomination. I mean, you saw the five names there. You saw Shaboozey, you saw Sabrina Carpenter, you saw Doechii, who ended up, who had a wonderful night, and Mark Ronson, who remixed Sabrina Carpenter and won. David Guetta, who remixed Shaboozey, right? And I got in there. I got our little label, our team of Jamaican and Caribbean based artists, producers, songwriters to be nominated right against them. So for me, that nomination was a win already. I kind of knew that Mark Ronson was probably going to get it. You know, he is one of the biggest producers in the world, who's done Amy Winehouse back in the day, and Bruno Mars, and now Sabrina Carpenter. But who got up there and we showed them that an Amapiano remix of a Jamaican reggae artist can compete with the big boys.
And that you did, because it looked good. It looked good among the big players. And you were at the Grammys, moving about on the red carpet, obviously well known and seamlessly moving through. What was that like? What was that experience like? I've never been on the Grammys red carpet. What's that? Like? Never.
Oh, we got to get you next year.
I'd love to.
Yeah, and there is a process, you know, for media. But you do qualify your legitimate media establishment with worldwide credentials. So you do qualify. So it's a process that will have to start almost from this summer. You know, a lot of people wait till last minute, and by then it's dead. You have to start there. So we're gonna get you there, because it would be wonderful if World Music Views reports directly from red carpet.
Live.
So we're gonna start. Remind me this summer.
So how was the energy? What was the energy like on the carpet this year with Kartel, Shenseea, you? What was the energy like?
Well, first of all, we had concerns, all of us, how it was gonna play out because of the fires in Los Angeles. It was unfortunate that most of the events that usually take place throughout Grammy week would start around Monday, Tuesday, and they go all the way up until Sunday, which is the Grammys. All of those events were canceled, which was unfortunate, because those events are all about networking, all about enjoying, you know, the festivities. All the record labels have events. We were invited, and I am sure that our team was invited to the Sony event, because we are being distributed by the Orchard, which is Sony. We were a part of the ASCAP event because I'm an ASCAP writer, and as a nominee, you know, they want you there for their events. There were so many wonderful things which unfortunately had to be canceled, and there was a very serious decision that Harvey Mason Jr., the CEO, and Panos Panay, the president of the Academy, they had to decide, are we keeping them or are we postponing them? They made a wonderful decision to keep them, because Los Angeles needed the positivity and Los Angeles needed the money to come in because of the Grammys. And even though we all had some doubts what should happen, their decision was wonderful. These are the best Grammys I've been to, and I'm referring specifically to the Sunday. I missed the week. I wish we had our parties during the week. But Grammy-wise, these are the best Grammys I have been to in many years. So during difficult times that we have brother musicians, fellow musicians who lost their studios, their homes, their equipment, lives were lost. Harvey and Panos pulled this off. They raised nearly $10 million, and they're still raising money. And the energy was there. You know, we were all afraid some people are going to cancel, they're not going to show up. The place was packed. The energy was there. The love for our fellow music family members was there.
Wow, that's nice. For you to see Kartel there, knowing his story, how are they treating him in that environment? And what was your? I know you knew the inner workings of the Grammy, but a lot of people saying, you know, Kartel is the man to win the Grammy, or Shenseea to win, and they're disappointed with the Marley win. What was the energy like, and what are your thoughts?
Well, what people who are very familiar with Caribbean music, with reggae music, with dancehall music, have to understand is that a lot of our stars, a lot of our superstars, don't necessarily resonate with the voters, for example, of the Recording Academy, because they might not know about them. Yes, the few members of the Recording Academy who are familiar with our genres obviously know who Cartel is, right? Obviously know who Sensia is, but there are voters out there who really don't know. And this is something that I've been preaching for a long time, and you've been preaching too, in order to get reggae music and dancehall music and soca music maybe one day to become more relevant with the Grammys. We need more members of the Academy from Jamaica, from Trinidad, from the Caribbean. And it's a struggle I've had over the years. I have gotten so many members to become members of the Academy because they qualify out of Jamaica and they just don't care. They want to win a Grammy, but they don't want to put the time and the effort to be part of the Recording Academy. I've had people who I ensured they became members and then they stopped paying the membership, so they lost it. I mean, the members it was $100 a year, now it's $150 a year. It is not that huge of an amount. For a year, what's that, about 20-some thousand Jamaican? For a person who is actively involved in the music industry, 20,000 Jamaican per year is not a huge amount. That's like a JPS bill, right? So, oh, it depends, because sometimes I get JPS bills in my apartment in Kingston. I'm saying
way more sometimes.
But I wasn't even in Jamaica. I was in New York for the whole month. How come I spent 19,000 in JPS and I wasn't even there? Anyway, so it is crucial in order to get more recognition for our creators and our artists to get involved. The more voters that are Caribbean based and reggae music based and dancehall based, the more we have, the stronger we're going to be. We are fighting. We're trying hard. You know, we've been trying to get dancehall to have its own category for years now. We need more people. We need Jamaicans. We need Caribbeans to get more involved. So, going back to your question, voters, when you get thousands of projects that are submitted every year in the different categories, voters are going to gravitate to the projects they know. So it becomes the responsibility of the artist team to ensure that voters know about the project. There is a proper way of doing that. It's a for your consideration campaign. You're familiar with them. It's basically myself as a producer, as an artist, as a manager, as an agent, whatever, as a label. I have to ensure that the voters know about the artist, about the person I'm trying to get nominated. If they don't know, how they're going to vote? Let me tell you something. Out of the 5 reggae nominees this year, we had what? We had Cartel, we had Colibads, we had Sensia, we had the Wailers, and we had the soundtrack of the new versions from the Bob Marley movie, right? Nobody was promoting. Nobody was promoting. People were calling me, knowing that I'm involved with the Recording Academy and specifically with reggae, asking me, Alex, what's going on with over in reggae? What's your opinion about this? What's your opinion about that? You know, and I was trying to educate them and tell them who does what and suggest things they should listen. That's not really my job, though, right? That's the job of the teams behind the artists. So the Cartel team wasn't promoting. The Sincere team wasn't promoting, to my understanding. I didn't get any emails as a voter saying, please listen to our project. Now, the emails should never be about, please vote for me. Let's make that clear. It should be, please listen to the project. We feel it's a great proposal in reggae music. I didn't get a single email, a single message, a single posting on social media to promote any of the reggae nominees. So how are people going to know about Cartel? The 20, 30, 40, 50 votes that came out of Jamaica are not going to be enough. We need more votes.
How many people in total you think voted for reggae? The Grammys released a statement. I read a research a couple of years ago to say only 6% of Grammy voters voted in the reggae category. How many in terms of a number this year?
Well, sometimes the Academy doesn't give too many details, but from what we know, we have about 13,000 voting members. It's not necessarily that all of them voted, okay? So let's assume that half of them voted. Let's call that, which I'm sure it's more than that, but let's assume half. Let's call it 7,000 members voted, and less than 10% voted in reggae, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have, approximately, let's say 5 to 600 people to 700 people maybe voting in reggae. And again, we're just making some assumptions here, okay? You don't have 5 to 700 people voting out of Jamaica who know who Vibes is. So they're going to gravitate towards projects they understand. They know the Wailers. Remember, you and I had a talk and I told you I think the Wailers are looking good.
Yeah.
Because they know the Wailers as a name. So they're going to gravitate and go and listen to that project. Also, let's remember that the Wailers was produced by Emilio Estefan, Miami, Gloria Estefan's husband, which was very interesting, a Cuban producing a Jamaican project. So I thought because of Emilio producing that and the Wailers' name being famous, that they had a good chance.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of the movie, you and I know that this wasn't the original Bob Marley songs. People are confused thinking, because I saw comments saying, why would they vote for 30-year-old songs, 40 years, whatever they are, and it's not Bob Marley's versions. It is new interpretations by various artists that did Bob Marley songs.
And otherwise, Bob Marley has actually never been nominated for a Grammy.
And he's never won a Grammy. Yeah.
He has never been nominated, which means he could never win.
Yeah, and yes, and I think it's time that the Academy gives him one.
He got a Lifetime Achievement Award some time ago, but in terms of his albums, and he has released 25 albums posthumously, live albums that were brand new, got released, and even Stephen Marley got an acoustic win. And Bob never ever won a Grammy. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's hard to speak about the Grammys, but when see, those projects were released at the time that you know what? Let me be honest. I don't know. You have to understand. Reggae Grammy started what year? In the
85.
They start giving a reggae Grammy in 85.
It was called Best Reggae Recording.
Yeah. I don't have the answer for that. Let me research it for you. I mean, obviously, we know who is God when it comes to reggae.
I think what has happened, because I did an article on it, all of Bob's children have won Grammy, except Kimani. In terms of the musicians, right? And Kimani was nominated the year Beenie Man won, actually, I believe. Was it Beenie Man one of those years? But Bob himself, I believe, his music was probably considered unoriginal because it was recorded long ago. And you don't have a lot of dead artists who win Grammys.
No, you don't, because those projects were released before we have to understand Grammys. you have to fall within the eligibility period,
Mm-hmm.
which is usually the previous year, to generalize it. It normally starts around September, October, and it goes until next year, September, October. So you can release an album and get nominated 5 years later, unless it's a historical album that is being released. That there are a couple of exceptions, but as far as an artist release, if
But,
it's
but to be clear, Bob had the African remix album. Bob had a hip hop remix album in '99, Chant Down Babylon. Bob had several remix new interpretations, just like this one, which is a cover album. He had several remix albums that were eligible, not just in reggae, but in other categories.
it falls back to, did the people behind those albums do what they were supposed to do in order for those albums to be submitted, nominated? I have a very interesting story of great works that don't get a chance because the teams behind them don't do their job. The year we won with Julian for Best Reggae Album, which was 2024, I thought one of the best proposals would have been the Popcan album that year. I think it was a great album. I think he's got enough following that if they hustle, they had a good chance. I thought he was going to be one of our main competitors. They didn't even submit it. So who is at fault here?
Yeah. Masika submitted this year. Everybody was saying he's the new reggae dancehall guy, but he never even had a chance, and that's a major label. Why you think it was?
Well, like I said earlier in this conversation, submitting is only the first step. It's important, of course, but it's only the first step. You have to ensure that voters know about the project. How am I going to vote for a project if I don't even know about it? Now, I voted in the first round for Masika because I thought that was a great album. I love that album. He's one of my favorite dancehall artists, period. And I don't have any direct connection to them. It's not like they're my team or anything. I don't even know the person. But I think that's great dancehall music. So, but I am one of the few who knows about Masika. The thousands of Academy members don't know who he is. So it's the job of his team to ensure that voters know who he is. And that job doesn't start voting time. That job starts now, today. You and I are talking. As soon as the Grammys finish, you start educating the voters about what's coming up.
Yeah.
You ensure that people know there is an artist called Masika. He's huge in Jamaica. He's making moves outside of Jamaica. He's signed to a major record label. I think that's Def Jam, right? If I'm not mistaken. That's Def Jam Records, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you ensure that you do your PR basically. Same way you do PR to the public, you do PR to the voters. So who is responsible again? The teams behind the artists. So who is responsible for Cartel not winning? The team behind the artist.
Cartel said if it wasn't Bob, it would have been him. What's the rank you think? You think he was second up if Bob didn't win? Well, the album with Bob Marley covers?
No. Again, this is an opinion. I don't have any facts here. I think other than the Bob Marley project, the Wailers had the best chance. And if I had to put somebody else up there in the top 2-3, I would put Collie-Buddz. Collie-Buddz knows, and his label, Ineffable Records, understands how the whole Grammy situation works. So they are putting the time and the effort to introduce him to the voting. Remember, Collie-Buddz was nominated last year too. with his rhythm album.
So if Kali had won, it would be the same thing.
Soja, it would be another Soja case.
Not just a Soja, but the persons who are singing on the album would not have been. They wouldn't receive a statuette.
That is correct. Let's clarify that, because I saw a lot of postings and messages and arguing about who gets what. All right. Each category is different, so there are variations. But as a general rule, when you're talking about an album, not a single, an album, and reggae falls under albums, that's the only reggae Grammy for album. In order for a person to be considered a Grammy nominee or a Grammy winner who receives the statuette, they have to have no less than 50% participation on the project. That's number one. Number two, not everyone who has more than 50% qualifies for the statuette. It's only the artist, the producer, and the engineers. Let's say a songwriter wrote all of the songs in there. That's 100% being the songwriter. They still are not considered a Grammy nominee. They are considered a participant, and they get a certificate. Why is that? Most categories are, the Grammys go to the artist, the producer, and the engineers. Most, not all. Unless the category is specifically for the song itself. Like there is Song of the Year. You also have a similar category in R&B and in rap music, where it's a separate award for the artist or the album, the single or the album, and a different award for the people who actually wrote the song. Well, reggae doesn't have that. So specifically for reggae, as we know, most of the people that are going to be listening to us or viewing us, specifically to reggae, artists, engineers, and producers get Grammys as long as they've had 50% or more participation on the project.
Mm-hmm. I did not know that is not everybody who do 50%. I didn't know. So the executive producer.
No.
In 1995, there was an album called Stir It Up, nominated. The executive producer of that album was Maxine Stowe. She was the one that was nominated. She was the executive producer. That's the album that gave Diana King her breakout song.
What was that in reggae? Please remind me.
Yeah, it was in reggae by Sony. It was a Sony record.
She must have been listed as the producer.
Okay.
Because if she was listed, there is no executive producer who is listed as an executive producer that is considered a Grammy nominee or a Grammy winner, period.
So who gets the Grammy for this album that won this year? Bob Marley won Love Music inspired by the film. Well, nobody did more than even...
None of the artists qualify. All of the artists involved, they are considered participants of a Grammy-winning album for which they will get a certificate. The Academy specifically says that they are not considered Grammy winners. They are considered participants of a Grammy-winning album. Now, I don't have details about that album, but if there is an engineer that did more than 50% of the mixing or recording, that person will get the actual statuette. And I believe there are a couple of people for that. Whoever produced more than 50% will get a statuette.
No one did. It's all different producers. Salam, Remy, like a bunch of producers are on it.
So there is a very good possibility here that nobody gets the statuette. I don't know. That's a weird thing because it depends how are people listed in the credits. I can do some research if you want me to and get back to you on that later on today. But if somebody is listed as a producer of the project, other than the individual producers that did each song, that person will get the statuette. If somebody is listed as the engineer of the majority of the songs, yes. Artist-wise, There is no artist here that's more than 50%.
In Jamaica, and War Music Views don't do rumors, but I just wanted to clarify this. There are people going around saying that Harvey Mason Jr. was the executive producer of the album, and that's why it won. Can you clarify that for me?
Let me assure you that that's not the case. I personally know Harvey, and I know how he operates. He would never do that. First of all, you have to understand, Harvey is a musician. He's not just the CEO of the Recording Academy. His background, he's a producer. He's a very talented individual when it comes to music, and he's very serious about integrity and honesty. First of all, an executive producer won't get a Grammy anyway. There are some rules that people who actually work for the Academy don't qualify for certain things. But I can assure you that Harvey did absolutely, if he was involved with this project, did absolutely nothing to ensure that he wins. He has no personal gain for that. He is very serious about how we run the Academy. He's very serious about inclusivity. He's very serious about ensuring that everyone who is involved in the Academy represents different races, different religions, different everything from all over the world. You've seen him travel the world trying to get members from Africa, from the Middle East. You know, he's very serious about diversifying the Recording Academy, because the Recording Academy in the older days was a good old white guys group. And when Harvey took over, that was one of his main things. We'll have to diversify the Academy. The Academy has to include and have just as powerful when it comes to women, when it comes to minorities, when it comes to Latino, Asian, Black, LGBTQ. Anyone should have a strong voice within the Academy. So I can assure you that is the #1 focus for Harvey and Panos and the rest of the Academy. And I can assure you they're not doing any funny business. They're not giving Grammys to people that don't even supposed to give them. They don't even know who's going to win the Grammy. They don't get Harvey doesn't get the votes. The votes are done secretly, online through codes going to an accounting firm. They don't go to Harvey. They don't go to the offices of the Recording Academy.
Yeah, so, I thought it was nonsense. I saw it and I thought it was nonsense.
No, it has the Recording Academy is not doing any funny business. I can assure you of that. I've been a member. See this thing back here? That says I've been a member for longer than I care to admit, because you'll know my age. I've been a member for 30 years. Long before Harvey was the CEO, long before, back in the days when it was really an old white man type of and there is no funny business when it comes to the Grammys. Now, sometimes people complain that maybe a Grammy went to a person who wasn't as popular as another person, because people think that the Grammys are about popularity or sales. And you and I know they're not about popularity or sales. That's why you might have a superstar who might lose to a lesser known artist or a lesser known producer, because maybe that lesser known artist or lesser known producer has more respect within the Academy about their body of work.
Yeah.
So the Academy is...
We got 5 minutes, and I want to take that 5 minutes to talk about your book.
Okay.
Tell me about it, and you can weave in some of this in there. Tell me about the book. How long have you been writing it, and what is it about, and when is it out?
It's a book that I think is necessary for people to understand the Grammys and the Recording Academy. I'm trying to give some clarity of how to go about properly preparing, presenting, and marketing your music while following the Recording Academy's rules. And most important, my focus is not winning a Grammy, even though the title is So You Wanna Win a Grammy. The focus is making great music. And winning a Grammy should be something that comes after. Focus on making great music, and then do your best if you want to try to win the Grammy. but don't make the music for winning a Grammy. I get so many messages from people that reach out to me, Alexx, I want to work with you because I want to win a Grammy. And I immediately sat them down and said, well, you don't want to work with me. You want to work with me because you think I can help you make better music as a producer. You want to work with me because I can understand what you are trying to achieve as an artist, and I can give it along with you to the public. But you don't want to work with me because you want to win a Grammy. I don't have the guarantee that I'm going to win a Grammy. Nobody has that guarantee. Nobody. Let me assure you. Look at Beyonce. All these years, and she finally got Album of the Year. But all these years, everybody thought that she was going to get it, and she wasn't getting it. So nobody knows who is going to win the Grammy. Nobody can. Whoever tells you I'm going to guarantee you a Grammy, they're lying to you. Nobody can do that. All we can do is make great music, follow the Academy's rules, and hope for the best.
Nice.
Book is coming out this Friday.
The book is coming out. What's the name of the book?
So You Wanna Win a Grammy.
So You Wanna Win a Grammy.
You told me, by the way, that years ago you wrote an article with the same title.
Yes.
It's truly a coincidence because I wasn't aware of that article, and now you're gonna sue me, right?
No. It's the same message, the same everything. I love it. It's what I've been trying to get people to understand because, as you said, World Music Views is about the facts. We lay it out. People use it to empower themselves and do what they do with it. So kudos on the book. We're definitely going to be supporting it, and we're going to be pumping it and getting it to the eyes of our audience.
Thank you, my brother.
Yeah,
Keep
man.
doing what you're doing. We need what you're doing. We need you to tell people the truth about the music business.
Thank you so much. And we still need you to keep the Grammy hope alive and let them know that it's an open field and you just...
It is. They have to listen of how to do it, but it is. It's not some special club. Anyone qualifies as long as they put out good music and they properly market it.
And we're going to close there. Thank you so much, Alexx.